Hey guys, what's going on? It's me again. I wanted to jump in here real quick to address Five Nights at Freddy's and Dead by Daylight and Springtrap, and if Springtrap really is going to be our Chapter 30 chapter. Now, there's a lot of evidence pointing in both directions of the argument whether Springtrap will or will not be our killer for our Chapter 30 paragraph. Our evidence actually starts off a while ago when we had Five Nights at Freddy's under the satisfaction survey that behavior sent out for players to fill out before seeing what licenses and what IPs they wanted to add into the game and what was most requested by fans, and Five Nights at Freddy's was on this list. Now, if you know how the satisfaction survey works, the satisfaction survey only puts IPs that behavior is actually looking at to put into the game, and those are all the IPs that are listed, all the ones that behavior looks to get in contact with and eventually bring to the game. So for Five Nights at Freddy's to be on this list, that means that behavior knows that we want it. Now, for a while, it didn't make too much sense as to who would be coming into the game representing Five Nights at Freddy's. Would it be Freddy Fazbear himself, or his two bandmates, Bonnie and Chica? Probably not. But Springtrap is something that everybody simultaneously landed on and said that they wanted to see in the game. Now, does this fit the criteria for the year's sci-fi horror chapter and sci-fi horror theme? Yes, I very much think so. Most people don't consider how Five Nights at Freddy's is indeed a sci-fi horror franchise. Now, our second piece of quote-unquote evidence would be the release date of the PTB, which would have been around the time of when the Five Nights at Freddy's movie dropped in theaters and on Peacock. Fans were guessing that the PTB would be released around the time of the film because it would be early November, which is normally when we see the PTB drop, but to this day we still do not have the PTB for the Chapter 30 because we didn't get it the week that we expected it to. It actually looks like we're going to be getting it next week, so we have a little bit more time to speculate. Sadly, this means that the likelihood for Five Nights at Freddy's has severely plummeted, which for fans like myself really saddens us, because we were really looking forward to a simultaneous release of the PTB with Springtrap as the killer and the movie. It would have been Five Nights at Freddy's galore and an overconsumption of media, which for Five Nights at Freddy's fans like myself is not a bad thing at all. Now, the new chapter can still very much be Five Nights at Freddy's, just released a little bit later than we thought it was going to, because now us getting the PTB next week means that now we are in teaser season. We thought we were last week, but we weren't, which makes sense why we got all of these Saw clips and Saw photos from in-game content at Dead by Daylight, because those were not teasers. They're definitely teasers for something else, but not for Chapter 30. So this week we should keep our eyes open for new Chapter 30 teasers that hopefully point towards Five Nights at Freddy's. Fans have wanted Springtrap in the game so badly. If you have been here before, you know that during the Hellraiser chapter and during that teaser time, everybody kept pointing those teasers towards Five Nights at Freddy's. And that was an amazing time to be speculating about what the new chapter was going to be, and it ended up being Hellraiser. But our passion was heard, and hopefully it was heard enough for Springtrap to be our new Chapter 30 paragraph killer this time. Now, since the PTB is a week later than we thought it was going to be, sadly there's not that much evidence for Five Nights at Freddy's coming as this new paragraph, other than it being very much wanted by the fans and very much sci-fi. And we know that it's just going to be a paragraph, which makes a lot of sense for a franchise like Five Nights at Freddy's, which doesn't have a designated character who could come in as a survivor alongside Springtrap. Yes, you could argue that Mike could be the survivor, but we've never really had a visual representation of this character until the live-action film, which just recently came out. And Springtrap, being the most malicious and most villainous character in Five Nights at Freddy's, William Afton, makes most sense for him to come in as a killer and as specifically a paragraph, because a full chapter of Five Nights at Freddy's wouldn't make that much sense unless, of course, we bring in a map. And what map we bring in? Well, we have multiple pizzerias and multiple maps to choose from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. And another question to be asked would be, what weapon would Springtrap/William Afton use in the game? Because we know in Dead by Daylight, every character needs a weapon, because they monetize it and they sell new weapons and new cosmetics, so a weapon is very, very vital. We have seen a character before, specifically Nemesis, who doesn't use weapons and just uses his fists, but he kind of gets away with it because he uses his tentacles to strike instead, and it kind of counts as a weapon. But this time, we have been provided a weapon for Springtrap from the live-action film, because we do see him using a knife in film. So, perfect. We can give him a knife in Dead by Daylight, and that will be his weapon that he uses to attack the survivors. Of course, we can get really creative with the cosmetics as well and bring in every one of the animatronics as a legendary skin for Springtrap. That way we could be running around in the fog as Freddy Fazbear, as Bonnie, as Chica, as Foxy, all as legendary skins for Springtrap. And of course we have a name for the killer, and it always starts with a the something. So I think for this one we should call him the animatronic. That way everything fits, all of the cosmetics are perfect, and you can even sell new weapons for each one of the killers. I'm not the Dead by Daylight art team, I couldn't tell you what that would be, but it would be awesome to have all the Five Nights at Freddy's main characters in-game. However, unless we get new evidence sometime soon and sometime during this teaser week, I really don't think that Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be our Chapter 30 paragraph, only because I don't think that they would bring Springtrap into the game without a new map, and we know according to the Year 8 roadmap that we are only getting a new killer right now. So why would we not want to put Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria as a map? That would be the coolest thing to run around in as a survivor and, pick up gens, and especially as the animatronic. If we're playing as the animatronic, imagine being in the pizzeria. That is like a fever dream for Dead by Daylight. That sounds absolutely incredible, and I don't think Behavior is going to pass up on that opportunity just to bring Springtrap in this early. At the same time, I do hope I'm wrong, because I really do want Springtrap in the game, and they can always retrospectively add Five Nights at Freddy's maps into Dead by Daylight, especially after seeing the success of the new live-action film. But if we don't end up getting Springtrap for our Chapter 30 killer, we can rest assured knowing that Five Nights at Freddy's will eventually come to Dead by Daylight, because it was on the satisfaction survey and us fans really want it. Hopefully the new Blumhouse film really pushes it towards Behavior that this is a franchise that is worth money, and they will make money off of it by putting it into the game. Overall though, my guesses really didn't change. I still think it's going to be either Vecna, Pennywise, and hopefully Springtrap. He's definitely in my top 3, so I hope that I'm right alongside a lot of other Dead by Daylight fans. But yeah, that's what I got for today, so thank you so much for coming in and watching. I appreciate you guys so much, and I appreciate all the feedback I've been getting on my videos. So yeah, guys, thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one for sure.